And so, but it's just like all there was just so much pain in this prologue. I just laughed so hard. I just envisioned this like slow clap like from Colin. Oh, busted. Hyacinth. It's like, girl, what? Oh my god. So I just finished the prologue and that was so hard to read. I'm just like heartbroken. We get the birth of our hero, Simon. He's like the sixth attempt at an heir. His mom had many miscarriages and two stillborns, and at first you think it's kind of sweet because the Duke, the father, he is so excited that they finally have a child, and he's a boy, not a girl, so he finally has an heir, and he goes around and he's showing everybody and he's talking about him nonstop. And while he's praising the birth, his wife dies in childbirth, and it appears, it wasn't a love match, but it's still just like disheartening. And it's just like, oh, but she did her job, she gave birth to she gave him an heir, and so because of that he'll remember her fondly. So he's so excited to raise his son, and it turns out his son isn't talking. He goes back to raise his son when he's 2. He's not talking. That's nothing unheard of. And by the time he's 4, he's still not speaking. And so it goes to a scene where he's freaking out and he goes to beat Simon, and Simon says no. And it turns out that he's a stutter, a really thick stutter. And so the Duke is mortified because he thinks Simon's dumb. And he leaves and he never comes back. So his nurse works with him and raises him and praises him and loves him, and they work on his speech. And by the time he's 11, he decides to go see his dad and prove to him that he's not dumb. Hi, I'm here. And this is just so heart-wrenching. So I want to say a couple lines. So when he's 4, the nurse is talking to him, and this is when he's leaving. It says, "Nurse Hopkins hugged the boy close. You are not an idiot," she whispered fiercely. "You are the smartest little boy I know." Because he was like writing letters and showing how intelligent he was. "And if anyone can learn to talk properly, I know it is you." Simon turned into a warm embrace and sobbed. "We'll show him," she vowed. "He'll eat his words, and if it's the last thing I do." And and it's just so he goes to see his dad, and the butler opens the door and he's like, "I thought the Earl died." And he's like, "What?" And so the poor kid is shooken up because everyone has thought that he was dead, because the Duke, who was so excited to have a son, talked nonstop about him, all of a sudden stopped talking about him and like never went out to wherever the boy was being raised, never talked about him. So everyone thought that he was dead, and he's like, "I'm not dead." So the Earl comes down and he's being all snobby and mean, and it just shakes the boy up. And so, as people are with stutters, when they're upset, the stutter comes back out. And so he's trying to prove himself, and he's starting to talk, and the Duke is starting to get proud. And then a stutter comes out, and he says, "Go home," the Duke said in a low voice. "There is no place for you here." Simon felt the Duke's rejection in his very bones, felt a peculiar kind of pain enter his body and creep around his heart. And as hatred flooded his body and poured from his eyes, he made a solemn vow. If he couldn't be the son his father wanted, then by God, he'd be the exact opposite. So you just see, it reminds me of Lord of Scoundrels. There's like a prologue about the hero and his upbringing, and just how you see that turning point that turns them into kind of the hateful rake or the hateful hero, and they have to learn to trust and love again because they are raised with very little love or zero love from their actual father. His mother died in childbirth. And so, but it's just like all there was just so much pain in this prologue. So, yeah, let's continue on. Oh, okay, so I just read chapter 1, and I don't know if I'm going to do like commentary on every chapter, but this is so good. So it opens up with the blurb about the Bridgertons from Lady Whistledown's Society Papers, which I've heard about, that it's like Gossip Girl, where I guess she's been sending out these free newspapers, and it's about gossip about everyone in the ton. And then after like 2 weeks, she stopped sending them out for free, and now she's charging for them, and everyone loves them and is addicted. So it was so cute to see Daphne, who is the oldest Bridgerton daughter. There are 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls, named alphabetically, which, funny enough, I have a friend from growing up. He's Mormon, and there are 5 children, and they're A, B, C, D, and he was the oldest. His name was Aaron with an A, but I thought that was cute. But it was really fun to see Daphne and her mother Violet read the paper, and that was really cute. So apparently Daphne, our heroine, she is in her 2nd year of being out in society, which means she's going to balls and meeting suitors and trying to find a husband. She's had 4 offers and she's declined all of them, which we find out like her oldest brother, has allowed this. Their father has passed away, and so he's like the man of the house. I underlined this this sentence. So apparently, Daphne is adored by all. She's very funny, but no one is dazzled by her. So she's someone that she's talking to that she thought would make a good husband. Deuce take it, Daph. You're just not like regular females. You're positively normal. When she might have managed to consider a compliment if he hadn't proceeded to wander off in search of the latest blonde beauty. And I felt that so hard because growing up, I mean, like even through like high school, like anyone that I had a crush on, but they all liked the blondes, and I'm brunette. I've always been brunette. And so I felt that really hard, how all these guys love the blondes, and if you're a brunette, good luck. No one's gonna want you. No one likes brunettes, even though I find brunette people attractive. And so after their exchange, we follow the oldest brother, Anthony, turns out is friends with Simon. Simon is back in town, and his father had just passed, so now he is the new Duke. And you just kind of get backstory about them a little bit. But they were friends at Oxford, and so I guess it's gonna be a brother's best friend trope type thing. Anthony's talking about Daphne to him, and he kind of has interest, and he's kind of like, are you trying to hook me up with your sister? And he's like, oh no, she would not fall for you, which is just like a nice delicious bait for Simon, a little bit of a challenge. And he invites them to family dinner, and apparently there is a ball coming up before that. Lady Dansbury, which I've heard other people talk about from the photos in the trailer, who I guess Lady Danbury is like the older, I think she's a widow, and she has no filter. She just says whatever she wants. And she was very good to Simon. She brought him in for holidays and stuff like that. So I guess they're very close. So I'm excited to meet her. Yay, loving this so far. Quick comment back to the Gossip Girl thing. So the Gossip newspaper. I love Gossip Girl. I loved it back when it was first on, and I just want to comment and say, I hope that the reveal of Lady Whistledown isn't what the reveal of Gossip Girl was. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. I hope this series Does it differently? Does it better? We will see. Oh my god, this vlog is gonna be so long. So I forgot to comment on another passage I underlined. So it's like the boys are talking and they're talking about going to that ball and how everyone's gonna be all over him. And Anthony says, "Society mothers, you dolt, those fire-breathing dragons with daughters of, God help us, marriageable age. You can run, but you'll never manage to hide from them. And I should warn you, my own is the worst of the lot." Oh, those eligible bachelors, those rakes are just terrified of commitment and can't wait to see them meet the woman that will bring them to their knees. I just can't stop talking about this book. Okay, so chapter 2, we are at Lady Danbury's ball, and Daphne is hiding from Nigel, who had proposed again, and he is not a smart guy, but he is kind of obsessed with Daphne because she's so nice. So she's hiding, and we see all the other brothers. So they're all talking, so we get introduced to them, and we meet Lady Danbury. She comes up and she says that she likes Daphne, which is just like, because we know that she and Simon are connected, and the fact that she likes Daphne is just sweet, and I can see that being like a cute moment later in the book. So then we get some more background on Simon from his schooling and him being, you know, really good at school and emulating his father's dukish manners while on the inside being nervous because that's not really how he is. And then how his father has like followed, like listened to, like followed him in his path, and then like is finally proud of him despite him trying to prove himself when he was younger, and or even like not, like denying him to go to school, so he had to like lie his way into school. The Duke was such a douche. So that's just like heartbreaking. And then he hears Daphne and Nigel arguing, and he goes in to rescue Daphne, and she punches Nigel in the face. So yay for a heroine who defends herself. And that is their meet cute. He sees Daphne for the first time. I don't know if he's ever seen any of the Bridgertons besides the oldest, the A one. So we just had the meet cute, and I'm so excited. I'm nervous because I've heard that there's consent issues, and I just don't see Simon being that way. So I don't know if Nigel forces himself upon Daphne later on in the book if something happens, because I don't see Simon, our hero, being that way. So okay, so after their meet cute, Simon realizes who Daphne is and that she is Daphne Bridgerton, and he says, or he thinks, there are rules among friends, commandments really, and the most important one was thou shalt not lust after thy friend's sister. So so this is gonna be the best friend sister. That's gonna be fun. So then he's trying to like seduce her, and she like laughs in his face. So he's trying to like seduce her and kind of scare her, because she's like, oh, I know who you are. My mom said I can't I have to stay far away from you. And yeah, and so he's like turning on the smolder, and she just like laughs in his face, and she keeps saying how she's immune to these ways because she has 4 brothers. And yeah, they're trying to figure out what to do with Nigel, and Nigel is just a drunk idiot, and he stumbles over Daphne, and then Simon then punches him and knocks him out and leaves. So And remember, we still have the Bridgerton family dinner that he was invited to. So I'm loving this build-up. Okay, so Simon's night gets worse because he is then introduced to all of the ton, the unavailable ladies, the married ladies hit on him, etc. And he finally he meets actually the Featheringtons, which we've heard about because Mrs. Featherington is also a widow and she has 3 daughters that are of age and one that is still younger. And I'm pretty sure Penelope, the youngest one, I think she's in one of the other books. And I think she's like good friends with one of the other Bridgerton daughters. So we meet Mrs. Featherington and she comes parading to Simon and introduces her 3 daughters. Oh, what are they? They're all P names. So there's Prudence, Philippa, and Penelope. And I don't know, it's just funny because there's little comments from Lady Whistledown about like Mrs. Featherington and Mrs. Bridgerton, how they're like the top 2 moms during that have daughters on the market, and like they're the most intense mothers out there. I don't know, there's like, I think there's like some kind of tryst between the 2, so that's really cute. But even better yet, after that, Simon goes to the Bridgerton brothers and he hangs out with them, and he accidentally slips that he had met Daphne, and all 3 of their heads turn and look at him, and they instantly turn on their big brother shields and kind of start questioning him, and he like feels the pressure, and like I just love it so much. That was so cute and just had me laughing. I marked here this passage. It says, Simon glanced from brother to brother, and it became perfectly clear why Daphne must still be unmarried. This belligerent trio would scare off all but the most determined or stupid of suitors, which would probably explain Nigel Benbrook. So funny. And so after that interaction, because they're talking about to go, like, who should go and save Daphne from her mom is parading her around, just like Simon was being paraded around. And after that talk, Anthony pushes Simon to come with them, and they go and talk to Mrs. Bridgerton, and he meets Mrs. Bridgerton, and he's nervous because of the comment earlier about Daphne saying how she didn't want Daphne to be seen with him. And they kind of talk about how they had met earlier, and then Mrs. Bridgerton, her eyes start gleaming, and there's a comment saying how she's already envisioning her grandkids or whatever. So loving it. Loving that we're still at the ball. And okay, so Mrs. Featherington starts parading to all of them. So Mrs. Bridgerton, Daphne, and Anthony. And she has her 2 daughters in tow. And to get out of that situation, Simon asks Daphne to dance. So we're about to get our first dance scene. Another update, and still nerves about what the hell is the consent problem that happens at the end of the book. It's gonna be just in the back of my mind, painfully waiting for this scene to show up. So this chapter was their dance, and so swoony. And basically Simon comes up with the idea that they should fake date. I don't think it's as far as being like engaged, but they're supposed to pretend that they are exclusively, I guess, courting is the idea. So they're going to be going to events and parties together so that they don't have to be paraded around in front of other single suitors. At least not as much. I'm sure there's still going to be people thrust in front of them, but not paraded around an entire ballroom of people. And then after the dance, they go and they see Mrs. Bridgerton and Anthony. And Anthony's like, what's going on? And he is such like not the jealous, but the overprotective big brother. And that's his friend. And like, oh, I just love that. And then I also love the little tidbit with Violet, who I love, the mom, how she is, I don't know, you think that she's just kind of like the silly mother who's trying to, you know, marry off her kids, and really she like, at the end of the chapter, she allowed herself a secret smile. Children were so easy to manage. So she knows what she's doing. I mean, she's raised 8 kids, so she knows what she's doing. So I love Violet as a character, and I'm glad that we get a little bit up in her head. And so far, I mean, she's been in most of these chapters, so yay, still loving it. Chapter update. Okay, so there's a quote I wanted to say from last chapter. Okay, so there's a couple things. So when they're dancing, and Simon's asking Daphne, like, why don't you just find someone to marry and put yourself out of your misery? She shot him a sharp look. Are you asking? Simon felt the blood leave his face, and like he didn't answer a couple questions because the stammer came on, and it was just like, oh, I just love that. Oh, and then like the chapter ends when Violet sees Simon dancing with Penelope Featherington, because he had mentioned that if he would dance with anyone, he would dance with Penelope, like, to be nice. And like, I mean, it was just, oh, like you can tell like there's like a little story there. I don't know if that'll show up in a different book, but that was really sweet. And so when they're all talking and Anthony is getting jealous, I didn't mark this. Like, he's like at disbelief at what's going on, like his friend and his sister. He's like, and I, Anthony snapped, should take a dose of lanolin, for clearly I am fevered. What the devil is going on? I just loved it. Okay, so this next chapter, Simon goes to the Bridgerton house, and because Daphne told him that if you want my mom to believe, you need to show up, you need to call on me the next day. So he shows up with flowers, and there's like 4 other suitors there already talking with Daphne, and he is jealous. Oh, I love it. I mean, it's just so funny. Like, I'm loving this book so much, but like all these little tropes and mannerisms are things I've seen in other books, but for some reason it's just mixing together perfectly. Like, it doesn't feel, oh, I've seen this before, because I have, you know, brother's best friend, fake dating, and then one catches feelings, and the other one doesn't really catch feelings until they see them with other people, you know, things you see all the time. But delicious that she was there. Other guys are already calling on her because they saw her with the Duke last night. Okay, and so then we have he calls her Daphne. Surely you're not going to force me to call you Miss Bridgerton after all that we've been through. We've been through nothing, you ridiculous man, but I suppose you may call me Daphne nonetheless. Excellent, he nodded in a condescending manner. You may call me your grace. She swatted him. Very well, he replied, his lips twitching. Simon, if you must. Oh, I must. And he's like, must you? I should be very excited to hear it. Like, just, ooh, love it. Oh, and then like, so she accidentally touches him, and she jumps back, startled by the heat and power of him. Good God, if she could sense all that through his shirt and coat, what he must be like. Daphne colored red. Deep, dark red. I should give my entire fortune for those thoughts, Simon said, his brows rising in question. Oh, busted! Like, their chemistry is off the charts. Like, there's like a friendship foundation there, but also like sexual tension and chemistry. Oh, and this. So the flowers he brought was for her mom, and oh, like, good move, man. And like, Daphne realizes that no one's ever gotten her mom flowers except for her dad. Her dad has been passed away for 10 years. And so she thinks the Duke of Hastings. Daphne decided then and there that she'd be a fool if she didn't fall in love with him. Oh! And like, okay, Violet Bridgerton coming in with the personality. We love a good mom. So Violet looked at Simon, do you want to have this conversation with my son? Not particularly. Fine then, Anthony, be quiet. Daphne clapped her hand over her mouth, but a snuffly, giggly sound escaped her nonetheless. You! Anthony jabbed a finger in her direction. Be quiet. So Anthony comes in and he is pissed. Like, he was pissed last night. He's pissed even more to see that his friend is there to see Daphne, not him, and he brought flowers. And so they go into the other room and like they get like in a chokehold each other, like they kind of choke each other out a little bit. And so Daphne sneaks in, and so then they decide to tell him what's going on. A couple more things from Violet. When Anthony is pissed off and like calling Simon out on all of his bad behavior in the past, and Violet says, reformed rakes make the best husbands. I love her. So yeah, I love these scenes of like, I don't normally like the trope brother's best friend, but in this, I don't know, I'm just living for this. I'm living for the Anthony, Simon, Daphne, Violet little thing that happened in this chapter. Oh, and when Simon calls her, so this is before like they decide to tell him, Simon calls her Daph. Anthony whirls around. You call her Daph? His head snapped back to Daphne. Did you give him permission to use your given name? Like, he was, not only did he say he not only did he like, is he using Daphne, but he called her Daph. Ugh. Love it. Okay, so my thoughts for chapter 7. So this is like the reaction after they tell Anthony what's really going on, and he's still pissed. And they're talking about like how like, oh, you're still friends, and Anthony said the single syllable brimming with barely contained violence anymore. It was like, oh no, I hope this doesn't ruin their friendship. But basically, it's just kind of, they talk things out, and she explains things, and she talks about how, you know, she has so many options and suitors now, and that had never happened before. And Simon didn't really like hearing that, of course. And then there's this, Simon was self-reflecting about how much that they have changed. They haven't seen each other in 6 years, and that now they're truly men, and that their friendship is kind of changing, which was a little, you know, heart wrenching to hear. And then dinner is brought up. So he was invited to dinner, like I mentioned earlier, the Bridgerton dinner. I was so excited, and this wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be because they interacted more, you know, at the ball. But it was cute seeing all 8 kids at dinner, and the little ones being silly and tossing peas and not having a filter, asking him questions, and he was being very quiet and polite, and he asked for more peas so that Gregory would eat his peas, and then she invites him to go the next day to Greenwich. They're going on a family outing, and she invited him and kind of caught him off guard, which I'm sure she did on purpose, because Violet is, you know, she knows what she's doing. He has a little stammer, so I just love like seeing the little stammers come out, because you know that he's caught off guard. He's showing a lot of emotion, or he's angry, or just emotional, and I love that, and so I'm excited to see more of that throughout the book.
Okay. So don't read it on stream unless you want to stop parts on story. I was really like, oh my god. I'm not a crier, not like that. Like, I'll cry over stuff, but not stuff like that. So, Crystal, what are you gonna read?
Okay, reading update. So I read chapters 8, 9, and 10, and oh my gosh, they are some doozies. So chapter 8 is when they go to Greenwich, and they take like a yacht and go to Greenwich on, this is like the family outing. And it's really cute. There's lots of sweet moments. We learn about Simon's interest. He's showing his knowledge. And then like he's interacting really sweetly with the youngest, Hyneth. I don't know how to say her name. I've never heard that name before. Or Hyacinth. Hyacinth. She's just asking him questions, and she's like, well, if you don't marry my sister, you can wait and marry me, just being all sweet. And they're getting ready to board the boat, and that's when both Simon and Anthony fall off the boarding board so that Gregory, the youngest boy, wouldn't fall in. And it was just a cute, laughable moment, but it's still like this underlining tension between Simon and Anthony. Chapter 9's 2 weeks later, and we find out that they've been going to different, Daphne and Simon have been going to different outings at night together, but it was written in Lady Whistledown's newspaper that he has not been spotted calling on Daphne during the day, and so there's a little bit of questioning about that. Daphne is at a ball and she's by herself because Simon didn't want to go to this ball, and she's thinking about how miserable she is without him and realizing that she's falling in love with him, and still hopeful that Simon might change his mind about marriage and having kids since they get along so well, and is kind of thinking that maybe it just might be the standard rakish bachelor that doesn't want to get married. But Simon does show up, and she's really excited, and it seems like he's excited to see her. And the topic of his father comes up because this other Duke comes up and says that he was a friend of Simon's father, and that he has some letters, and that he told him verbally some things before he passed away, and he was with them when he passed away. And that just like Simon, his throat tightens up and he's, not speaking much. And so he goes outside on the terrace, and the Duke mentions to Daphne that he'd like to give her the letters, and so she accepts, but she knows that Simon's going to be mad when she's going to be mad that she is going to receive the letters because Simon is pissed, and he said that he should just burn the letters. And so I have a feeling that's kind of a foreshadowy thing to a conflict later on in the book. But she joins him on the terrace, and he kind of opens up to her a little bit, just saying, how much that he doesn't like talking about his father, and that his father makes him mad and uncomfortable and everything. No details, but he opens up a little bit, and I don't know, there's a spark, and so she kind of lures him into the garden, and he pulls her behind a bush or whatever, and they share their first kiss, and it's very intense because it's Daphne's first kiss, and he, has been suppressing the feelings for so long, and so their first kiss is very intense and hard and passionate, and he's getting ready to kiss her breasts, and Anthony shouts and catches them. And so chapter 10 is them being caught and the fight. And so at Anthony and Simon's brooding tension finally comes to the surface, and Anthony punches Simon in the eye, and they're yelling at each other, and Daphne's trying to stop them, and she stumbles into the bush, and so that kind of cools their tempers a little bit. But then Anthony mentions something about, I'll get my revenge at the altar or whatever, like saying you have to marry my sister. And he's like, no, I can't marry her. And he punches him again. And Daphne's like brokenhearted a little bit, but still trying to make it so they're not fighting because they're best friends, they're really good friends. And then Anthony like says, I'll see you at dawn, basically challenging him to a duel, like a shootout. And he's like, Simon's like, okay, because I can't marry your sister. So he can't deny it. And he's thinking that Anthony probably will shoot me, not shoot up in the air. And poor Daphne is just like devastated. She's like, I know I've never been anyone like desired by anyone, but I still thought that someone would choose marriage with me over death. And like that just breaks Simon's heart, and he's trying to explain without giving details about his vow to himself that he would never get married and have kids as revenge for his father. Again, reminds me so much of Lord of Scoundrels, and also reminds me of Daring and the Duke. And so before she leaves, he's trying to explain himself, and he was just saying like how he doesn't want to hurt her, and she's trying to tell him, you would never hurt me, and it's just heartbreaking. And she just says, take me home to Anthony, and she leaves, and it's just, ugh. And I'm like, just a little halfway through, so I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm assuming their thing is gonna be in Lady Whistledown's papers. I don't know if Daphne's reputation is gonna get ruined. No more suitors. I don't know. Like, my heart is so broken. I mean, I was so happy that the kiss happened, and then Anthony came in, and it was just building up to that moment for 2 reasons, and very heartbreaking. So, okay, I just finished chapters 11 and 12, and so the duel is on. So 11 is Daphne getting Colin on her side to help her stop the duel, and basically she comes to the conclusion that he is fond of her, but he's not marrying her for some reason. And so her only choice is to tell him that he has to save her from ruination because he does care for her, and surely he's not gonna let that happen. So lots of sweet moments with Daphne and Colin. I love, interactions with her brothers. And so she gallops in the morning, and she stops the duel, and she's trying to get Simon's attention, and she ends up socking him in the face. So this is like punch number 2 or 3 for Daphne in the book. And I just love this. Like, after she punches him, she's trying to make him fall down so that he can't get shot or the duel can't happen. And he's like, I'm not gonna fall down. And Daphne says, men, idiots all. She turned to her brothers, who were all staring at her with identical expressions of open-mouthed shock. What are you looking at? She snapped. Colin started to clap. I just laughed so hard. I just envisioned this like slow clap like from Colin, and then like being stopped by his brothers. So he's obviously kind of like the jokester of the family. I love it so much. So she finally convinces Simon to marry her, and he tells her that I'll marry you, but we can't have kids. And she, is thinking about it, and she says yes, and I underlined it. So his eyes found Daphne's. Are you certain? He asked, his voice whisper soft. She nodded, her face strangely devoid of emotion. You're worth it. Then she walked slowly back to her horse. Oh, and then she's thinking about it later at home. She's thinking about her life without children, and she's kind of thinking that, oh, maybe they could have a kid. If she can just have one baby, she would be so happy. But basically that Simon is real, and she loves him, and a future family is just dreams and imagination, and so she'd rather have what's real, and what's real is Simon. Better to live with the man she loved than to have children with one she didn't as well. So, oh, so sweet. So they're engaged, and the wedding is supposed to happen on Saturday. So it's supposed to be a quick wedding because people did see them kissing, which they didn't see the full thing in the fight for the scandal. But I guess the fact that they were kissing in the bushes is enough to get a quick wedding. So here we go. Okay, chapter 13. This one's so sweet. So it's leading up to the wedding, and Simon visits Daphne, and he gives her an emerald engagement ring, and he picked it out just for her. So he didn't want to give a family heirloom for obvious reasons, and he wanted the ring to be hers. And she loved it, and she was very quiet and taken aback, and oh, it was just such a sweet moment. But then they're both very nervous about how there's still an uncomfortable silence between them, and there's just a lot of talk about how Simon's worried that he won't make her happy because of the children thing. So I'm just worried about like what the conflict is gonna be, if it's gonna like I don't know what's gonna happen, because this book has been just like so sweet so far. Like I'm nervous, you guys. So, and then we get a quick little piece of the wedding, which I know books don't like to write in weddings, and I've heard from some authors, I guess it's just really hard to write wedding scenes for some reason. Okay, so before that though, Violet and Daphne have the wedding night talk, and Violet is so uncomfortable, and it was just, the whole thing was so funny. Like she didn't know what to say, and I guess Daphne does no idea. Like she doesn't know what consummating the marriage is, like what's actually done. And then so much so that she didn't even realize that babies come from that. Like she was surprised. So yeah, I was surprised to hear how little Daphne knew. And she was just like, I know it has something to do with kissing and possibly breasts. It's like, girl, what? And then we have the brief wedding. Simon is concentrating on his vows so that he doesn't stutter. But to Daphne, it feels like he's enunciating and saying each word slowly because he really believes them and he's very passionate about them. I hope that's not a bad foreshadowing. Please, please, please. And then you may kiss the bride, and he like grabs her and kisses her hard, and everyone's shocked. Everyone's kind of shook, and everyone starts laughing. And sweet little Hyacinth Bridgerton, I think she's like, she must be the romantic of the family, was so sweet. She said, I think it's nice. If they're laughing now, they'll probably be laughing forever. She turned to her mother. Isn't that a good thing? Ugh, so sweet. So this is after the wedding, and they're traveling to their house, Simon's house, Cliveden house, the house that he was raised in. And they stop in an inn, and he was wanting to put off their marital night, but he was pleasantly surprised to see that Daphne was looking forward to it. And once they start talking, he realizes that she knows nothing about what's supposed to happen, and he's laughing, and that moment was just so cute. And they have a very good first time. And of course, she's a virgin, and it doesn't hurt at all. And so it's one of those, but I digress. I love his little stammering once it's getting down to business. I mean, I just love it anytime he stutters because, you know, he's full of emotion. And then when they finally get to Cliveden, they're holed up for over a week. So then Daphne meets with Mrs. Coulson, who is the head maid, or head of the maids. And she says that she wants her parlor to be the yellow room, and it turns out that that was Simon's mom's favorite room. And Mrs. Coulson talks about Simon's mom, who died in childbirth, and it turns out that she was like basically her best friend. And this is when Daphne finds out that Simon has a stutter, and that he was rejected by his father even after he learned to control it. So she knows a secret, And now it's gonna be how she reveals that she knows, because I'm sure that's not gonna go over well. And also, okay, to talk about like how innocent and about how innocent Daphne was about sex. So I don't think since Simon, I think that's done so that Simon can spend his seed outside of her and she doesn't question it because she doesn't know what needs to happen to get pregnant. um, Mrs. Coulson mentioned seed going in the womb, and I thought that was going to be, oh, she's going to find out how sex works through Mrs. Coulson, but it didn't happen. They just ended up talking about Simon's mom. So I'm interested to also see like how that plays out when she realizes that he can have kids. He's just choosing not to because he told her that he can't have kids. And she's assuming that it's just difficult for them to have kids, not choosing not to. So we're getting to the nitty gritty. Daphne just told Simon she loved him, and he couldn't really have a response. And after they make love, she finally realizes what he's been doing, and it clicks. And she realizes that he's been choosing not to have children, and they have a big fight. And she admits that she knows about his stammer, and he lets it all out, very angry. And that's that. So they're still fighting. Daphne tries to talk to Simon. He's being very nonchalant about it. Feels that he didn't do anything wrong because he told her he didn't want to have kids, or he couldn't have kids. And she's mad that it was a lie, which it's valid on both ends of things. And she moves out of their marital bedroom and into her own room, and he's really mad about it. And that's when I kept thinking, like, oh no, here we go, he's gonna force himself upon her or something. And you know, because he starts dropping like, you technically belong to me, this room is mine, blah blah blah. And she's like, yeah, but you know, he cares about her too much to actually do that, which I'm like, I've known, because I kept on thinking, I'm like, there's no way, it's so unlike his character, even if he was really 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 mad because of his dad, to, you know, rape her or force her to do something. Again, I just knew that there was some kind of consent issue in this book, so I had just assumed that it was him. And so I was glancing at the next chapter, and because I saw something that like he gets drunk, and I was like, oh, that's even worse, he's gonna get drunk and do it. But it seems that she is the one. There's no rape, but she's on top, and she forces him to come inside her. And I'm just like nauseous. Like, that just made me so sick to my stomach because of how adamant he was. Like, it was a thing he's always done, obviously. And it's something that he needed to obviously heal. You know, this is just the next night, and they are just gotten married. Like, this is a month in, and they were dating for not that long before that. So I just feel like them having their own children may have been something that they could have done a year or two down the line. And I get that this is different times and that people are expected to have children, but she could have just, you know, they could have just made whatever excuse they wanted to while they healed together from this. So again, I haven't read this chapter yet, but now I'm just like dreading it because I love Daphne and I love Simon. And now seeing that, which I get people fuck up, but I get it now. Oh, what a bummer. Here we go. Time to go read the incident. So what happened? The incident. I'm so mad at Daphne. What makes it worse is that he was drunk and asleep, and he was only asleep for an hour, so he was still drunk, he was asleep, And, you know, which we see a lot in romance books where people are like woken up by things being done to them, and that always skews me the wrong way. And then it ends with her bearing down on him and making him come in her, and he's so shocked and hurt that he is stammering so badly, and all she's doing is like holding her legs together so that she can keep all the sperm inside her. Ugh, so disgusting. And it's not until like after he leaves her a note saying, "Let me know if you're pregnant," meaning that he's probably gonna be gone for a long time. And that's when she starts questioning her decisions, and she still hopes that she's pregnant. So, as a reader, I'm hoping she's not pregnant. I mean, I feel like an option could have been they just kind of kept what they were doing, her finding out, but maybe her getting pregnant anyways, because the pull-out method doesn't always work. So, and then like him kind of giving them time to heal, and then he's gonna be a parent. Had no idea it would be like this. Like I thought the whole time it was going to be Simon, because I knew he had this underlying anger, even though I knew it was so against his character. And another thing that really twists my guts is that when he's drunk, I mean, he's realized like he needs her and he loves her. And he says like, "I need you, please stay with me. Everyone has left. Yeah, please don't. He left, everyone left, then I left." He squeezed her hand. "You stay." He sighed and turned anguished eyes to her. "I need you." So like he was the bottom of his barrel, and then she did that to him. So I mean, it on its own, it's a bad situation, but she should have known better that is gonna mess with him. Like I'm just shocked that happened. Like he's so hurt and betrayed, and I feel hurt and betrayed as a reader. So, and I mean we're close to the end, so I don't know if it's gonna be her getting pregnant that brings him around. Like I said, I hope she doesn't end up being pregnant. I hope that they can fix it without a baby. Okay, so I'm here to wrap up The Duke and I. I finished The Duke and I last night. I finished the book last night and I watched the live show. Okay, and so here are my thoughts. So after Simon left, Daphne goes to London, and then she writes Simon a letter a few months later because she thinks she's pregnant. And Anthony takes Simon the letter because Anthony is pissed that Simon's gone. And Simon's like, "Oh no, she's pregnant because here's the letter," even though he's been missing her. And the thing that bugged me about this little part was that he missed her, but there are some lines that he said that he left and he was upset more and mostly because he was stammering in front of her and he couldn't speak. And so he was more like embarrassed versus like her like stealing his sperm. So that kind of bugged me because it kind of just like shifted the conflict a little bit. Not saying that he shouldn't be embarrassed, but like it shifted the blame, it shifted the conflict. So he goes back to London, he's frantically looking for her, and he finds out that she's out horseback riding, and he goes and finds her because she shouldn't be riding horseback if she's pregnant. She falls off the horse when she like hears him coming, and it turns out that she isn't pregnant. And she was like, I didn't lie to you. Like she was apologetic about not lying to him about the letter that she was pregnant because she thought she was pregnant. She was just really late and she had just had her period. Just got her period. So she was like apologetic for that. And I don't think she ever apologized for taking a sperm. And if she did, it was very glazed over. The resolution was very quick. And I just feel like the end of the book with the weird conflict, and it was just really a hard left turn, and there wasn't enough like groveling and pain and resolution for this conflict, especially for being such a big conflict. It just wrapped up really quickly, and I know they did have a moment where like they got together and they were cuddling and they were talking, but it was like one afternoon, and I don't know. I think I think we're gonna see the relationship in all these future books, but I just think the ending, it was just too fast, and I think a lot of people agreed with me. The live show, Julia Quinn had a nice long blurb about her perspective about the scene, and it was very interesting. And something I had thought about when I was reading was just like back in the early 1800s, women had no agency. They were seen as property. Very little belonged to them. And so Daphne, you know, she was so naive when it came to sex that, you know, she kind of saw this opportunity and like just saw this like one opportunity where she could gain something that was her own, i.e. a baby. I don't know. I just feel like it could have gone a couple different ways. Like I mentioned before, maybe her accidentally getting pregnant, even with him pulling out, and then they talk about, and they have the conflict when they find that, when she realizes that he's been pulling out and that's not how you have a baby. Or like with the letter, like I was hoping she wouldn't be pregnant because it would just feel like, you know, some kind of guilt and cop out. She thought she was pregnant. I was like, oh no, she wasn't pregnant, which I was kind of relieved about. But like Simon never came, like Simon left, and for a good reason. But he never came back until she had a baby, and like he missed her. So I had a feeling like he probably would have came back on his own. So, but if it was too late, you know, their marriage could have been in shambles. So I don't know. But at the end also, like the brothers came, and the three older brothers, and they were like wanting to like bully Simon because he left, even though they didn't know the whole story. And Violet comes in and like literally drags the brothers out by their ear, which I love that scene because it's none of their business. I mean, like, yay for being protective big brothers. I kind of like that theme throughout the whole book. But she was married now, and like not their responsibility anymore. And they're having big issues that they did not know the whole story about. So I just feel weird about it because I was seriously 5-star loving this book up until the conflict, up until the scene. And not saying that we can't have flawed gray characters, but it just went from a 5-star to a 4-star. So I give this book 4 stars. I'm so excited for this series. I'm so excited to see more of Daphne and Simon and seeing like kind of how the relationship goes. In their epilogue, it was like, I'm pretty sure it was 4 years later, and then she had just given birth to her 4th kid. So she had 4 babies in 4 years. And she had 3 girls and then a boy, kind of opposite to her situation. And she did like A, B, C, D. So, I mean, that was kind of like, really? Like, Simon goes from not wanting to have any kids to 4 kids in 4 years. I don't know. It would have been nice to like give them at least more of a cushion before they even had 1 kid, let alone 4 kids. So thank you guys so much for watching. My contact information's down below. Join me on my channel as I plan on doing a detailed reading vlog for each of the Bridgerton books leading up to the Netflix premiere show, and I may do some show recaps as well. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.